Hello and welcome along to Mondo Chelloveck Movies. My name is John and this video is going to be an unboxing of a box I received from Paul Mahon from Dublin. So that unboxing is coming up right about now. So nurse, scalpel, thank you. So when Paul got in touch with me and asked him if he had any media that he'd like getting a shout out. So Paul said he hadn't got a channel yet, he just weren't up the courage to do it. So this to Paul and anybody else who's thinking about getting a channel, you really just have to say, right, I'm just going to go for it. I know it took me, well, I've said this before, it took me over a year to have the courage to do it, and I've never looked back since. So I urge anybody who thinks about doing it to really do it, because it's a great experience. So if you want any help or advice about starting a channel, just get in touch with your favourite YouTube and just ask them, and I'm sure they'll give you all advice that they can. Okay, so this is open now. Paul did say he would like me to give a shout out to Teresa. So hello Teresa, how are you doing? And I'm excited to see what Paul has sent me, or as we say, as Geordies say in Newcastle, what your Paul has sent me. Okay, so this is wrapped up. I'm just going to put my hand in and just see what comes out. Very well wrapped up actually. So plenty of packing. As usual, it's always great to see something really well packaged, and Paul has done a great job here. Oh, there's a note here, so I'll read the note out. Hi John, I hope you are keeping well. Well, actually I've got a little bit of a tickly cough here, but I hope it's not going into anything more. I hope there is something here that you have not got. Best wishes, Paul from Dublin. So yes, Paul, I'm hoping, because you told me a little bit about what to expect in here, well, one of the items, and I'm just very interested to see that, like I said to you on the messages. So the first thing in here is Survival of the Dead. Now, this is weird because I'll tell you why. I haven't got the UK version of Survival of the Dead. In fact, to be honest, I didn't even know there was a UK version. I've got the US version. Now what I'm thinking of is that the best thing about this is that this one will play on my 4K player. So I'll be able to upgrade the picture quality on here, because the other one's region 1 locked. And this movie is the last part of the second trilogy that Romero did for his zombie films. Obviously, Night, Day and Dead. Night, Dawn and Dead. Wow.
Where's me ladders?
So Night, Dawn and Dead were the first lot, and then the second one was Land, Diary and Survival. So I do need to revisit this second trilogy of the zombie films. Also, I need to go through the whole lot, if I'm honest, because I'm waiting for the 4K of Night of the Living Dead. As soon as that one comes out, I'm going to plough through the whole lot and have a bit of a Romero zombie fest. So that's Survival of the Dead. Like I say, I honestly didn't know there was a UK Blu Ray of that. That's why I went for the American one. So that's Survival of the Dead. Excellent. Next is now, weirdly enough, this movie, as everybody knows, is not the best Jaws film. But what I will say about it is, very recently, I've decided that I thought I'm going to get a few more of these Jaws movies, and this being one of them. Now, this is another one that's, when you get something you think, did someone read my mind about this? Because I've always known about this movie's limitations, about the fact that it's just not that good when you put it next to the original Jaws. But it's got a few tropes that leads back to the original Jaws. And yeah, so I did want to go, and the one I have seen, but I really would like to get with the slipcover on, is the one Jaws 5, or Cruel Jaws from the US. I would love it with a Jaws 5 cover. That's going to probably take a bit of tracking down. So I saw this movie recently on TV with my nephew Jack. He was maybe about 8 years old at the time, and he really enjoyed it, and he kind of got a little bit of a laugh at it. And he says, "Oh, I can't wait to watch the first Jaws movie." And I said to him, "Well, beware. It's not as nice as this one, or not as funny as this one." So apparently after that, he went and watched it when he got back home. He went and watched it and didn't get through the first 5 minutes. The Jaws attack at the start, I think he got a real big shock as to how bad it was. So I've always got that always reminds me, Jaws Revenge always reminds me of that time when Jack went, "Oh, I'll just watch Jaws then. That's got to be a laugh, hasn't it?" And I think, to be honest, I don't know if he's watched it all the way through still yet. But there you go. So Jack, by the way, plays for Sheffield Wednesday in the youth team. So that's Jaws the Revenge, or Jaws 4. Next up, I'll tell you what, there's some stuff in here. Next up is, I'm just going to put that to one side for a minute and get my breath back. You are not going to believe this. Paul got in touch with me and said, I'm going to send you a region one, a section one. I'm a bit lost for words here, a bit tongue-tied. Paul said to me he's going to send me a section one video nasty that he doesn't think I've got. And you're right, I haven't got it, Paul. But when I've seen it there, and I tell you what, this is all these movies here. Well, I didn't even know about, see, I'm losing all my train of thought. Reset. I didn't even know about Survival of the Dead. But here we go. I've got the George Revenge, which was on my radar because I thought I'm going to get that for like nostalgic purposes. This movie, my God. There's some more movies in here. I'll come back to that one. Wow. Next is The Frank Sinatra Show, Volumes 1 and 2. Now, he did mention about this one. Now, funny enough, I'm going to do a video sometime of some music that you would think me as like in punk and metal and alternative stuff and all kinds of weird stuff. You wouldn't believe some stuff that I really enjoy. And I might do a video one day of some like sort of surprise likes in my record collection or CD collection. And you will get a shock at some of them. In fact, I got a shock at some of them when I pulled them out and thought, I cannot believe I've got this. But I'll tell you the reason why I did get this. I did get behind these ones. I did buy them. So, yeah, I do like these ones. I wonder if this has got Elvis on it, because Elvis had an appearance in his in about 1961. That's a very interesting one. And to be honest, I watch a lot of music. I think when I watch concerts, I watch a lot of concerts, lots of behind the scenes to do with actual singers and whatnot. It's got up here, appearing with Bing Crosby, Dean Martin, Mitzi Gaynor, Jackie Gleason, he's such a funny bloke, and June Hutton. Wow. So that's the Frank Sinatra Show. And he did say about that one, actually. I'm still looking at that. Next, there's more. Next up is Superman the movie on 4K. Now, this movie here is what I consider to be a great movie. I went to pictures to see this and I was blown away by it because, to be honest, this movie, when it came out, there was no special effects like it. The fact that it said you can believe a man can, now you can believe a man can fly. Well, actually watching this, you can believe a man can fly. When you watched it, and you were totally blown away by it. I would have been about 9 when I saw this movie. And yeah, it was just such a great effect. The only thing that got the audience laughing was actually at the start when Superman is like a teenager and he races the train and he's kind of on a winch and he's racing at a normal speed and his feet are going, his legs are going crazy and he's kind of floating on the floor. Everybody was laughing at that bit, but that's not taking anything away from this movie. This movie is an absolute classic of the genre and one of the best ever Superman movies. And to me, Christopher Reeve is the best ever Superman. Yes, he made Superman 4. We'll not talk about that. But wow, this is just amazing. And on a 4K, unopened 4K of Superman, the movie. Wow, so that is amazing. Wow. Next up is Pretty Woman. Now, Pretty Woman is a funny movie, and I'll tell you why. Because I remember that I'm not a fan of this type of genre. And my mum said to us one day, do you want to watch Pretty Woman? And I says, indeed I don't. She says, come on, watch this with me, because it's one of her favourite films, and I want to watch it with her. I says, well, go on then. So I watched it with her, and to be honest, it's not a bad movie. It's one of those movies that I think the chemistry between the two actors there was on point. It was absolutely brilliant, and I think that's what carried this movie for me. And I'd never really, because she was a big, massive fan of Richard Gere, and I says, oh, not a Richard Gere movie. It's going to be like one of these like sloppy love stories. I'm writing at that. She goes, no, just watch it. So I did watch it, and I did find it was such a really enjoyable movie. So that's one that I'm sure that Debs likes this movie as well. I'll have to ask about that one. So I don't have the collection. I'm glad to have this one actually for nostalgic purposes. So thanks once again, Paul, for that. And I'm not going to go and sing Pretty Woman like Elvis. So I know Elvis didn't do it. So when Paul got in touch with me, he said he had a Section 1 video nasty to send me. And well, there's these sort of things. I didn't know I was going to get that many, if I'm honest. So that's another thing to be grateful for. So thanks once again, Paul. I do really appreciate this. And Teresa. I don't know if Teresa's watched this film of mine. I'll be interested to speak with Paul and say, did Teresa watch this movie and what did she think of it? Because it seems like it's one of those movies that could divide a lot of people. So the movie that Paul has sent me over from the Banned Video Nasties Section 1 list is, drumroll, Fight for Your Life. Look at this. This is the Blue Underground DVD. Now, as we were talking on the live stream the other day with Nige about Fight for Your Life, he had actually got in touch with Blue Yonder. How would you remember them? Blue Underground, and he had said, is there any chance of this coming out on Blu-ray? So they said, well, can't, because the actual negatives was lost in a Hurricane Katrina, I believe. So they're gone. There's no way they can get their hands unless somebody finds another negatives from God knows where. So this is as good as you're going to get. So obviously I knew that I had to go and get this one there. And that was on my massive to want list, which is some of these ones have been ticked off here. Paul's played a blinder with this. So yeah, so wow, look at this. Now I want to thank Paul again for sending me this. Well, I'm going to say, and me and Nige both agree, this movie is kind of like a mini masterpiece. So this movie's never been given a certification in the UK for its kind of racist language, and which I can understand in a fashion. But when you see the movie, you can hear what's said in this movie, and you think to yourself, I can't believe that's ever been allowed to be made. It was made in 1977. This actor here, William Sanderson, is a really big actor. I think he's still alive. I consider this movie to be a great movie. It's one of those movies when you watch it and you think, wow, that's a really good movie. I wasn't expecting it to be so good. And obviously, it could never be made today. I think it's because, but when you watch it and you watch the fact of this sort of really like humiliation in this movie, when it sort of plays out, you understand why it was there. And I think it's more powerful for that. I think that that's hard to say it's justified. It's not really justified if I'm saying that. But in a way, this gang that come over and terrorise this mild-mannered fella's sort of family, and how the retribution and the whole thing, and the sort of the way it turns around, it's just brilliant. It's a movie that should be watched up, I believe. It shouldn't be taken out of context, because I think the context is justified for this type of movie. Yes, it is a uncomfortable watch at times, and it is quite brutal. But the fact that I've now received this from Paul is just amazing. I would have never ever thought it would be in this movie. I was thinking of the movies that haven't gotten to section 1, and I don't even know which ones I would have sort of come down, but this one would have been the last one I would have picked. And to be honest, it's probably the one I would have most wanted to receive. So I can't thank Paul once enough for that, because it's just amazing. I will watch this very, very soon. In fact, I might even watch it today. And this is one that I will not be watching with the devs, I feel. So thanks once again to Paul and Teresa for sending me this great selection of movies, and in a 4K, a wrapped 4K, can you believe it? The Frank Sinatra show, which is quite interesting to me. In fact, I watch a lot of this stuff. What I do watch is a lot of people who take off the likes of Frank Sinatra, like these celebrity impersonators. I watch a lot of that. Jaws of Revenge, which, to be honest, I prefer that to Jaws 3. I think Jaws 3, I might have went to pictures to see it, and I thought, wow, not into that at all, even if it was 3D. I remember 3D being quite bad. And Survival of the Dead. Now that's great. I'm going to have a look at that actually, my 4K player, to see what it looks like compared to the other one, because I'll get a little bit of a sort of bump up in the quality on that. And I can't remember that movie at all. I remember that movie being quite comedic, as the other ones weren't. So, thanks once again, Paul. I can't thank you enough for this. This is just such a really generous meal to receive, especially at this movie. It isn't hard. It isn't easy to get. Can't get in the UK, and I'm really blown, as you know, I'm blown away by this. So that's a big thank you to Paul and Teresa for sending me these great movies, and also this really hard to get Section 1 Banned Video Nasty Fight for Your Life. So, thanks for watching, especially you, Paul and Teresa. You take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.